There's still several folks showing up to the meeting, so we're going to have a 2-minute delay, and we will be starting right after that.
Good evening. We're going to wait for a couple more minutes. We have quite a few people coming across the street. All right? Thank you. One, two. Good evening. My name is Nelson Ojeda. I'm a Public Information Officer with the Northern Rockies Incident Management Team 6, and I'll be the facilitator for tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us. We're live streaming tonight's meeting on YouTube and Facebook at Aspen Acres 2026. In addition, this meeting will be simultaneously interpreted to Spanish and American Sign Language. This meeting is also being recorded and will be available for those of you that want to watch the presentation later. At this time, I kindly ask you to please silence your phones for the duration of the meeting. So tonight's speakers, we have representatives from our incident management team, the Forest Service, the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, and the Pueblo County Sheriff, to give you an update on the current fire situation. We will close the meeting with words from our incident commander, Mr. Rich Cowger. Our goal tonight is to provide you with an update on the current incident objectives and basically explain the plan for the coming days. We plan to have our speakers address as many community concerns related to the fires as possible. We're not going to have a Q&A session. What's going to happen once we're done with the meeting, we're going to have breakout sessions in the back of the room. You see these maps on the wall. So we invite you to go to those maps and direct your questions to our subject matter experts. Let's welcome our first speaker, Mr. Juan Hernandez, incident meteorologist.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juan Hernandez, and I am the incident meteorologist here assigned to the Aspen Fire. Now, you might be wondering, why do we have incident meteorologists? Why do we need weather people out here, right? You just normally see us on TV. Well, we're here for the safety of the firefighters, and we're here for getting to know what's going to happen with the fire in the next couple of days. So, looking at what happens with a fire, a big component is weather, and weather drives a lot of the activity that you see out there. So you might have noticed today, right? You looked up there, you saw quite a bit more smoke. Well, let me tell you, it was hotter and drier today. So something that we expected to happen. So if we could pull up that first slide. So here's what we have. So we saw a temperature about 82 degrees and a relative humidity of 20%. So that's where we bottomed out today. So it was expected that I was going to get that hot, and it was expected that I was going to get that dry. And as we continue through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening hours, you'll see we'll start to get cooler and wetter. So when it comes to those conditions, they're going to improve all through the night, all the way till about 6 in the morning. And then as we continue into tomorrow, it's not going to be as hot, and it's not going to be as dry. So going to the next slide, I do want to mention the conditions that we had when this fire started. So when this fire started, we did have hot and dry conditions, and pretty windy conditions as well. So I want you to focus on the colors. The colors are the indicators of how bad it is, right? So if it's green, we're good. So no fire or no significant impact to the fire. As you start to get into those brighter yellows and into the red, that's kind of the severity. Once we get to that red, once you see a lot of red, that means bad weather conditions. So this is what we had back in late June, early July. A lot of red out there. Moving on to the next slide. This is what we're looking at. So this was a forecast, right? So the first column, Monday, that's today. It was red, as expected. There was some activity out there. Going into the next couple of days, you'll see those transition over to yellow and then green. So we're going to start to get that monsoon moisture coming in. We're going to start to see those temperatures decrease, and then we're going to start to see that precipitation chance creep up. And then we can go to the next slide. And here's a look at the next 2 weeks. Essentially, the red, it's going to continue to be hot. We're looking at hot conditions. We're pretty confident that it's going to be above normal over the next 2 weeks. And then the image on the right, you'll see that monsoon starting to set up, right? You see that the green over in Arizona and into Utah. Well, we're right outside of that green area. So we're right on the fringes. So what we're looking at is, there's probably going to be showers and thunderstorms starting to develop each afternoon as we go into the next 5 days, and then continuing on for the next 10 days. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be standing in the back after this presentation. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Rick Connell. I'm a fire behavior analyst. Sounds pretty geeky, and it is. I flip a coin a lot. So what does a fire behavior analyst do? Well, we take the information we get for the meteorologists, and we look at what's out there on the landscape. Am I talking grass? Am I talking sagebrush, timber? What kind of timber? How steep is the terrain? How consistent is it? Is it very dissected? Lots of valleys, drainage, etc. All that affects how fire burns, right? Most of us, I'm looking in the crowd, and you're all roughly in my generation. When we were kids, we had wooden kitchen matches, right? And if you lit the match, and if you held it upside down, it burned up, and you drop the match, right? Because fire burns up whatever fuel it has, whether there's wind on it or anything else, right? So in a stable environment, it'll still burn up whatever the fuel is. And so we look at that, and we're trying to figure out where the fire is going to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day, so that then operations can kind of figure out where to put resources as the event unfolds, right? And you've seen that over the last couple of weeks with the Alaska team and now Team 6, and obviously the fire's been very large on the landscape. So what we have here is last night's infrared. So there are several sources of infrared photography or imagery. So it's looking for heat, and it's actually looking for the difference between what's not hot and what's hot, right? So, and we use everything from satellites out in space to aircraft down on the ground to unmanned aerial aircraft. Little drones have infrared cameras. So we look at all sources of information, right? This source is from a night flight that happens generally every night. This was last night. And so pointing out up on the top finger up there was the latest burn yesterday, and kind of the next finger down below, we've been calling it the chicken fingers, right? Most people heard that term, and now you kind of understand why. There were 3, now there's 4. That second finger on the top was there from before, and so what I predicted this morning is the little V in between would burn out and also enhance the previous day's burn, which is pretty much what has happened today, right? Now, it also probably moved a little bit around those big red areas because that's where there's intense heat, right? So that's what my job is to kind of give that prediction to operations, who can then figure out what we're going to do for tomorrow's shift. And Ben will talk about that here in a sec. So, but what I really wanted to also point out was there's not a lot of heat left on this side, which is down by Rye. we've been putting a lot of effort in there. Today, I was actually up on top of the mountain at 11,500 feet, walking around for about 3 miles. I will sleep really well tonight. But heard Division Bravo, that section, really putting a lot of work in there with a lot of helicopters and dropping a lot of water, had dozers in there. So we're getting, a lot of activity and feeling really confident that this side of the fire has a low probability of moving past the opportunity control lines that we have. And then looking at it from a fire behavior as to what's out here, it would still take a lot more time to move towards rise. So we're getting to the point where, I think from a fire behavior standpoint, we're feeling much more confident. Now, as you see on the kind of that upper corner by the title, there's dots out there on the landscape, right? So there's heavy timber, there could be logs, there could be other things that are isolated sitting out there still burning away. And so this imagery can actually pick that detail up. And so along the perimeter, we've been using these kind of maps for our guys to go out and find those and search and destroy them. And we do that along the perimeter of the fire so that we make sure that then that doesn't necessarily cause us problems down the road by causing an escape, right? So the big things that drive fire behavior are terrain, weather, and fuels. So I've talked a little bit about some of those, but on the main part of this fire, it's mostly mixed conifer. Doug fir, lower elevation, it's ponderosa pine in places. Up high, it's spruce. And up high at spruce there's a lot of mortality from probably spruce beetle and other things. And so there's a lot of dead and down in that spruce, but there's a lot of that's tall and standing. But on the ground, even though there's maybe some down trees, there's not a lot of continuous fuel. So that's one of the things we're going to fly tomorrow to see how well that spruce did or didn't burn in today's event, right? But as you know, you live here and you look up, it's steep, right? You're going from very low elevation to very high elevation in a short period of time. That accentuates the ability of fire to move up the hill, right? Then you put an east wind on it, and it'll go even faster. So those are the 3 components today that drove the activity that you're seeing out there this evening. And as we heard from the meteorologist, we're expecting over the next few days all of those values, not the terrain, but the wind speed, relative humidity, temperature are going to drop, which will become in our favor. So that's what things look like for the next few days. The fuels aren't going to drain, the terrain is not going to change, but the weather is, and that will be in our favor to put some more effort into containing the fire. Up next, your favorite, air.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Schauer, and I'm an air resource advisor on the fire. And what that means is I'm paying very close attention to where the main smoke impacts are and how that's affecting air quality, among other things. But for what we wanted to communicate to you tonight, the biggest thing is just making sure you all know where you can get information so you can be informed and know what to expect for the next 24 to 48 hours, as well as current conditions. And then also talk a little bit about some tools that can give you a little bit more information on what you can do about it, because it doesn't take an expert to look outside and know that it's smoky, but there are some things, there's some subtlety to it, and it might not be as bad as it seems a lot of the time. So this first slide that I have up is sort of our main communication tools in ARA. It's this website called fire.airnow.gov. Has anyone already seen this or heard of it? Only a few people. So I would, if you have a phone, you can take a second to get that QR code or just write it down, fire.airnow.gov. But what this map shows, there's a few different things. The big blue box in the middle represents the area that we've been assigned to provide a smoke outlook for. So that's specific to the impacts from this fire. As I'm sure you are all familiar with, there's multiple other fires burning in the west, and that smoke is going to drift aloft, and some of that has been impacting this area over the past few weeks, and others, for the most part, we've been experiencing the smoke from this fire. So that's what we're focusing on. The red polygon in the middle of that represents the fire, the most current fire perimeter. It might be kind of hard to see right now, but these orange dots within that polygon represent the satellite detected hotspots that Rick was also talking about just now. And then all these other circles on the map, the greens and yellows and reds, those represent actual air monitors that are set up on the ground that are constantly recording the air quality. And what we see, this was a screenshot from this morning. Maybe if we can go to the next slide, we zoom in a little bit more on it. And so looking a little bit closer at the fire, our main areas of impact, which I'm sure you all are well aware, it is flowing right down overnight and into the early morning. The smoke channels down the drainage, comes through Rye and into Colorado City. And we've been seeing that happen pretty consistently almost every day. We'll see the air quality index peak at around between 8 and 10 a.m., and then it clears out pretty quickly. And although you're seeing this big, intimidating column of smoke during the day, the actual main impacts that we're seeing are for a brief window overnight when that smoke settles into the valley. So when we see more intense fire activity with that big column of smoke is able to lift and get into the upper atmosphere, and when it gets up there, it's able to disperse over a broader area. So on days like today, we might see some smoke impacts, as far away as Alamosa or further, but it's spreading out over a broad area, so those impacts are more minimal. So when we see that big column, it's not necessarily bad news right here in town. The time when you want to be more aware is when that column collapses and when you see that smoke settle back into the valley. It's just happening over a short window. And even though we're seeing the highest concentrations here compared to other areas around the fire, we're still recovering to good air quality every single day during the afternoon, evening, and even most of the night. So it's really like a 4 or 5 hour window that's causing issues. And from a health perspective, as long as you have some time to recover and get into clean air, we're still in pretty good shape. Can we go to the next slide here? There are some really sort of specific guidelines for who's going to be affected at what different level of AQI or air quality index. And that's laid out on the same website. If you just go to airnow.gov, you can navigate to it, or if you're able to grab a link from that QR code, it'll take you right to these documents. But they provide specific targets for what activities are appropriate for everyone at each different level, and that they'll break it down for for people, what we call our sensitive groups, which includes old people, young people, sick people, pregnant women, and they'll have slightly more conservative guidelines than basically for the rest of the population, and there will be short descriptions for what's appropriate at each level. Again, that's at airnow.gov. We'll put out these smoke outlooks every morning. They come out at 8 a.m., so if you check on this website, that'll give you some info for what to expect over the next 24 hours, and we provide a little brief outlook for the next 48 hours as well. I'll be around after this for questions if you have any, and thanks again for showing up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Wagner. I'm one of the operations section chiefs for Northern Rockies Team 6. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about what an ops chief does, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about strategy and how we craft strategy on a fire and what our strategy is here. So my job really is to supervise, to come up with the plan, communicate the plan, and then prioritize the resource that are assigned to implement the plan on this fire, and then to communicate with all the other functions. I mentioned on an update the other day, we have a lot of functional areas that work on the incident management team together to make this happen. It's not just firefighters, it's people bringing them the food, fuel, and water that they need to do this. So an immense amount of coordination. But to employ all of those people effectively, we need to have a strategy, right? It's not enough just to show up and say we're going to spray water on this fire and be reactive. We need to be thinking ahead in time and space. And I can tell you I've fought fire in this country previously, And when I heard where we were going, my first words to Rich, our IC, before we even turned a wheel, were, Rich, we need to be thinking about an enduring strategy, a strategy that will last, because we're going to be here for 2 weeks, and this fire will be here longer than us. And so we want to set whoever comes after us up for success. We want to set the communities that are depending on us up for success. So when I'm thinking about strategy, I go all the way, I hit fast forward in my brain, and I think about the end state. What do I want this place to look like when I leave? And I get some of that from the local agencies and agency administrators. They tell me why we're here, what's important, and they've communicated that very clearly. Your communities, the homes, the structures, the communication infrastructure that's essential for people to have communication across the mountain, all of those things are important. So the end state is that when we leave here, we're going to do our best to leave those critical values in the condition they were in when we arrived, or hopefully even better. And so how do I do that? Well, I'm going to construct primary and secondary control lines around this fire. Some of those control lines are going to be direct, as tight as we can be right against the fire. Some of those control lines are going to be indirect, so that means they're going to be removed from the fire's perimeter. And the decisions that drive that are based in part on the terrain, on the fuel types, and on a lot of the overhead hazards that exist. So overhead hazards for us mean dead standing trees, and we've got a lot of them up there, and every year we have a moment of silence in a fire camp somewhere across the western U.S. for another firefighter that was struck by a tree and died. And so we're trying to build a strategy that helps us avoid those hazards and have the highest probability of success. So our strategy on this fire to get to that defined end state is to hold the fire. I'm going to focus on the west side, okay? Hopefully everyone can see the east side of the fire is looking pretty good. Where the bulk of our work right now, the long-term strategy that we're planning for, is this west side of the fire. The heart of that strategy is establishing, refining an indirect line that runs from the Charlie Bravo break, and I'll dip out here and give you an explanation of what that means in a second. But from this break north, all the way back up till we reach the fire's edge again. And for those of you that may not have seen my morning updates, the Charlie Bravo break, what is that? These fires are so big, it's too much for any one person to supervise the whole fire and all the firefighters. So we carve that fire up with a pizza cutter, right? We take our pizza roller out, we divide it into bite-sized, manageable chunks. Those are called divisions. These parentheses indicate each division around the fire. And we use an alphabetical descriptor for that division. So Division Bravo is this piece of the fire that's on Millset Ridge that we've been trying to hold to keep fire from coming down into Rye. A lot of the activity that you're seeing right now is on the Division Charlie, Division Bravo break, that intersection right there. No surprise. I talked about this morning at our morning update. Hot, dry day today. We expect to see fire behavior out in this country wake up and run up the slope and respond accordingly. That's exactly what it's doing. So we are still refining, and every day those folks are out there refining and improving and putting a better and better polish on that control line. Now, if you've been listening to my morning briefings, you probably have heard me tell you that unburned fuel between our control line and the fire is a watch out. And in fact, we have a little pocket guide that we carry. Every first-year firefighter gets that, and there are 18 watch out situations that is pounded into us when we start. Watch out situation number 11, it literally is unburned fuel between you and the fire, and that's because we've learned that lesson the hard way. So what do we do about that? Well, I told you we want an enduring strategy, which means we have to be strategic, forward-thinking, and patient. So what we do when we have unburned fuel between us and the fire, in a tactical sense, in the short-term sense, we'd like to burn that fuel out. We can't do that quickly on this fire. There's too much landscape there, and we don't want to cause more problems in our attempts to do right. So we have to be patient, and we have to find opportunities where the weather and the fuels align for us to be able to slowly chunk away at this unburned fuel between our control line and the fire. I got to tell you, today the fire's doing it for us. It's helping us with that. But slowly over time, in coming days, and you'll probably hear me talk about this again at the morning briefings, we're going to seek opportunities where we can do that on our terms. And we use drones that can fly in. They can drop balls that will ignite fires. We can use specially trained firefighters or hotshots you've heard us talk about. These are the folks that we look to that have that experience. and we get forecasts from our IMETs, and we go out and we take a plan. We make a plan for that day to take a small bite and add fire and reduce the amount of fire or fuel between our control line and the fire. And that just takes time. And so I'm here to tell you that we are working diligently on building and maintaining this enduring strategy so that we probably won't get this done in our week. We only have a week left here, and this is a big landscape. And if we get some rain, that may slow that process down. But our plan is to have a solid strategy crafted so that whoever follows us can pick right up where we left off, just like, guess what, Alaska, they did for us. They set the table for this strategy. We came in and we put another fork and napkin, and maybe by the time we leave, we'll have a full table set for the next team. So I hope that makes sense. The end state, remember, why we are here, the purpose to where we're here, is to ensure that your communities, your homes, that they are protected. So that's what we're working to do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Neal. I'm the forest supervisor for the Pike San Isabel National Forest and Cimarron and Comanche National Grasslands. And I live in Pueblo, and something odd happened today. We had a bear in the neighborhood, which is, as you're probably aware, wildlife are all out of kilter. People are out of kilter. People are displaced by this fire, and we've seen a lot of destruction of homes and property. And so I just want to express my condolences for folks for that. I also want to provide an observation. This is my third year here on the Pike San Isabel, and I think that this is the first year we've really been tested by a wildfire. I mean, a couple of years ago we had Oak Ridge around the Beulah area. It wasn't anything like this. And just wanted to express my appreciation for this community. I've had nothing but kind words from folks, and I've lived other places, most notably in Utah and Eastern Oregon, where that wasn't the case. I would have been cussed out in the parking lot, and I have been. So I just appreciate this community. It's been very welcoming, and just know that we've got a good team on this right now, and we're going to try to bring in another complex incident management team. As the West starts on fire here, there is going to be a demand for more and more resources elsewhere, but we've got a good plan. I was up on the fire yesterday and saw a lot of the good work they were doing on the 369 road, and I really confident in this team's ability to do a good job. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Dave Lucero. I'm the Pueblo County Sheriff. I wanted to start tonight by thanking all of you. Today is day 21. What an immense impact this has had on our community. And I've had a great response from the community as well. A few calls of people wanting to get home. And that's the question I get the most. When do I get to go home? Right? I see people nodding their heads. I wish I had a crystal ball. But I want to share a story, and the story was I was with Custer County Sheriff Smith up at Aspen Acres the day that this thing kicked off. And I watched this fire travel 12 miles in about 3.5 hours. So we had a wind shift, we had gusts of 60 to 80 miles an hour up there, and it's unpredictable. This fire can create its own weather system, and that's the thing that has me the most concerned. I'm anticipating, because you heard that this is going to go on for months, but I'm hoping that we'll get you back in a reasonable amount of time within the next few days, for the most part. But again, it's all subject to what the weather's doing, what we've heard from the experts up here, and what that outlook's going to look like for our community. They repopulated an area today in Custer County, and they had to do an evacuation again. My greatest fear, and I'm responsible, right? I'm responsible for this and making sure that people don't die. Knock on wood, and we are very, very blessed. Count your blessings, because we've not had one fatality as a result of this. Houses can be replaced, homes can be replaced, but lives cannot be replaced. So please know sincerely that I'm working with Incident Command, I'm working with my chief. This is day 21. I've been up at this fire every single day for the last 21 days, as he has, trying to get answers, trying to relay that information to you all, trying to set up resources for you with our DAC, with our RAC, our Recovery Assistance Center, Pueblo Emergency, and I don't have a QR code. I need to get one of those to put up there, but puebloemergency.info, and that's going to have some resources for you all as you're coming back and we move to a pre-evacuation state. So hope to have that soon. I will be around afterwards to visit with you if you have any questions for me. Hopefully you're kind, but I can take it. I've got big shoulders, but thank you all.
Good evening, folks. My name is Rich Cowger, and I am the Incident Commander for Northern Rockies Team 6. I'll tell you a little bit about our team real quick. We hail from, this is kind of a duh statement because I already said it, we hail from the Northern Rockies. What that means is the United States is broke up into geographic areas. The area that you're in here is called the Rocky Mountain region. Encompasses all of Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota, a little bit of Utah, I think, and Kansas, Nebraska, that kind of thing. The Northern Rockies encompasses all of Montana, all of North Dakota, and northern Idaho. So that's the majority of our team is from that region. We have folks come all across the United States to help us out. Ben even comes from Michigan. We got a planning section chief that comes from New Jersey. They do have forests in New Jersey. They do have fires, so the guy actually knows what he's talking about. It's not all just Jersey Shore. A little bit about me, and the reason I bring this up is it's not about me, but my day job is I am a local fire chief for Columbus, Montana, a community not much different than yours. In 2010, my home, which was brand new in 2009, was in a fire, 10,000 acre Stump Gulch fire, burned right through my property. Really the only thing that saved my house probably was the fact that some guys said that's the chief's house and we probably shouldn't let it burn, and the fact that I didn't have any landscaping done yet, and so there was no flammable vegetation around the house. My family was evacuated at the time while we were off fighting fire, so I get the struggle. And the first thing I'll start off with is rest assured that every member of our team, which we came down with 114 folks, plus the other 1,200 people that are working on this fire, are doing everything they can to get you back in your home absolutely as soon as they can. However, what we've seen today is the reason that we haven't said move forward yet, right? We needed some time. Now, with that said, Division Bravo, I think the official technical term that we've been using is Division Bravo has absolutely been smashing it with a line between that fire's edge and the community of Rye. Today was a test, right? Now, it's not the complete test, because we still could get some erratic winds from some of those predicted monsoonal moisture storms to come in and everything, but it really helped get us that much closer to being able to say, Sheriff, we think we can repopulate. We're not quite there yet. We're going to have to get up and assess what this fire did today. We're already getting reports back. We had a couple of our ops chiefs fly it. The activity is subsiding really well. That we're already getting reports that more on the north end, we do have a spot over our containment line. It's about 3 to 5 acres. They've got dozers up there already. They think they can get around it yet tonight and then probably put that thing to bed. Closer to our area right here, everything appears to be well within the containment lines. Now, having said that, that fuel type that Rick was talking about does throw spots, right? So it'll take us a little bit of time to get up there, see what that looks like, make sure everything's in there. But that's kind of where we're at. I was hoping that we could come in here and tell you that tomorrow at noon we're going to let you back in, but I'm not comfortable with doing that yet. And I hope that you guys understand that. At the end of the day, we know you want back in. Part of our job to come in is not only to fight the fire, but help the community return to normalcy. And we know as long as you're out of your communities, that's not possible. So we're really going to drive towards that. In fact, Ben and I had a conversation, I believe it was last night, and I point blank told Ben, you have to start giving me some kind of timeline because the community deserves it. Mother Nature changed that a little bit for us, right? But at the end of the day, she helped us out. These guys were setting up plans to go, and you heard him say it. They were setting up plans to go in there. We talked to the agency administrators that we worked for. We included the sheriff's departments in there and said, we want to burn this in a very slow, methodical fashion. What they were going to do was go around that San Isabel community and tie the fire on this side to the fire on the other side and put a line around that to make sure that community was safe. And then they were going to go up in small blocks, do some more burning, stop, reevaluate it, do some more burning, and so it was going to be a very methodical. I will tell you, as a local government guy, I don't like putting fire on the ground. But sometimes that's the only tool that we have. And so that was emphasized to our operations folks, is that if we do it methodically, we do it systematically, and we do it with solid intention of what the end result is, then we'll go for it. And Ben can tell you, I didn't sign the burn plan right off the bat. Mother Nature accelerated it for us. What she just did is what we would have done over the next week and a half. Ben mentioned this fire's not going away anytime soon, and it's not. It's up in that high country. It's up in that steep country. A lot of that we just can't put firefighters in. So it's still our plan, and I think most folks are familiar with the 369 road. Is that what's on top there? That's one of our main containment lines. Still our plan to go up in there and strengthen that line to help fortify that so it will withstand any fire that comes up on top. And then to continue to strengthen this line that is between the edge of the fire and your community to get you back in there. So we'll reevaluate what this did for us. I was going to say did to us. It actually worked for us in our advantage. And again, we'll be in conference with the sheriff's department and everybody else to see just exactly how fast we can get you back into your community, because we know that's priority for you. At the end of the day, we get to go home in a week. You guys have to live here. So we're going to make sure we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that you're safe and protected when we leave. What Ben said is probably true. We talked to the agency administrators. Right now we're about, like I said, 1,300 people, 2 camps, one in West Cliff, one in Pueblo. The complexity of that requires that there will be another team very similar to us to come in and take care of that. Even if we got the fire closed off tomorrow, it's still going to take them a lot of time to do the rehab work on the property, get the resources cleaned up and demobbed back home, and get you guys back to normal. So we've already laid the groundwork for that. We've projected it out that it's going to take more than that time frame that we have here. And so to echo the sheriff, I've been watching Facebook, I've been watching the community and everything, and I will tell you, we went to a lot of fire in a lot of different places around the country, and we say thank you for your grace and space while we do our job. We're asking you to keep bearing with us just a little bit longer. We'll keep you posted and up to date as much as we can. We're all about putting it out on the table. If I don't know it, I'll tell you. If I'll find Ben, and if he don't know it, we'll find somebody else. We'll find Rick or somebody that will give you the straight, God's honest truth about what's about to happen. And so with that said, thank you for being here. We'll be around here tonight if you got any questions. And again, thank you.
We want to thank our representatives one more time for taking the time to come here and inform us about the situation of the fire. We want to thank you for taking the time to be here and your communities that have been very supportive of our efforts in this fire. So at this time, we're going to end the meeting. We invite you to go to the back of the room, find your way to the maps, and we're ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Have a great evening.